Hi there. Welcome to Espace Tricot podcast number 12. My name is Lisa.
My name is Melissa, and we are a knitting store in Montreal, Quebec, Canada, and we are on schedule, Lise.
We are. We're pretty proud of ourselves. Last night we were like, are we going to film? Are we not going to film? We kind of both, at one time, I almost bailed. Melissa almost bailed.
Yeah, so we're trying to keep it to our two-week schedule every 2 weeks, and then trying to post our little clin d'oeils in between, and we actually managed that last week.
Yeah, it was really fun. So we're going to be trying to do that. I don't know if we mentioned it in our last podcast, but we've started a series called Les Clins d'œil, which are supposed to be shorter podcasts and more sort of like a topic, something very specific. So we talked about travel in our last one, and we have some other ones that are waiting in the wings.
We talked about our lace weight shawls, I think is the other one that we've posted, and then we have another one coming up on blankets.
Right. So we're going to be doing posting those as we go, and really we're going to try to maintain our schedule as best as we can. But it's really crazy here in Montreal. It is so hot.
I know. This is what we do for you guys. We're wearing wool sweaters. It's like 90 degrees outside, 30 degrees.
Exactly. Celsius, it's sort of like 39 with the humidity. It's disgusting. It is shocking because we've had a terrible summer in Montreal, and now summer's decided to come in September.
I walked up here in wool.
There we go. But we cranked up the air conditioning during our podcast, so should be able to survive that. So we had a little draw that we did from our last podcast where we asked people to comment on what they're going to be knitting for the fall. So we picked our winner through a random number generation, and our winner was Pamela Marriott. So we left her a message on YouTube under her comment, but we just want to ask her to contact us. So Pamela, if you're out there and listening to podcast number 12, please send us an email to the store so that we can get your coordinates, and you can choose your lovely Espace Tricot boxy bag and your coordinating sock and go with it. So that's Pamela Marriott.
info@espacetricot.com.
Yeah.
Pamela,
Great.
So we had a lot of great comments from people. We had asked you to tell us a little bit about what you were looking forward to knitting, what you're most looking forward to knitting or excited about knitting for the fall. And so I think overwhelmingly it was sweaters, right? People were looking at lots of shawls, lots of socks. But overwhelmingly, people are really getting the sweater weather.
And a lot of people who were sort of like, oh, I've never done a sweater, but I'm going to try, or I've never done color knitting, and I'm going to try knitting a sweater with colors.
A lot of people, I think fall is the time that people are excited to try something new.
Yeah.
It's when our classes are most subscribed. So I think sweaters are
sort of top of people's lists.
Top of people's minds.
Also, there's a lot of new babies coming around, so people are getting into the groove. I mean,
so blankets, baby blankets, and Afghans were also big,
popular,
right?
Right? So I mean, in the end, everybody's like sort of knitting everything, but the majority we saw was mostly knitting.
Sweaters, right?
Yeah, so that was kind of fun. And also, we started answering a lot of the comments, and then we realized there were just over 600 comments that we couldn't.
Lisa really likes for us to answer every comment. And and we try to, but it's really hard. And this time we had, I think, over 600 comments or something like that.
Yes, over 600. So, Melissa's
Lisa started.
I started.
At least you can. So I said that we would take the opportunity at the beginning of this podcast to really thank everybody for their participation and for taking the time to write a comment and enter in the draw, and people weren't just writing, answering that specific question about what they were looking most forward to. They also add a lot of really nice comments about the podcast and about the content and welcoming us back. Exactly.
About our fab summer. I think that's part of the hard time I have with social media is, you're connecting with people, and so you feel you want to reciprocate, but then over 600 comments, it's just not manageable. So we just want to thank you and tell you we appreciate everything, even though we might not necessarily be able to respond to everything. And you'll see like chunks where I responded to a whole bunch of people, and then there's nothing because I'm like responding, and then I'm like, oh, I wonder how many comments there are. And then I looked, I'm like, Melissa, there are over 600 comments. Like, we can't do it. So anyways, that was...
so this is a general thank you.
Exactly.
Right?
Very good.
Okay. So I think at the beginning of our last podcast too, we talked about the fact that we were working on adding a kits section to our website, and it's proven a little bit more technically difficult than anticipated. Yes. So our web guru guy is working on it, but he tried it a couple of weeks ago and it crashed our site. You may have noticed it. We were down for a day or so. Yeah. So I have an appointment with them this afternoon. Hopefully that'll be up and running by the time this podcast airs. And if not, then just know that we're working on it.
And I mean, you'd think just adding a little tab called kit would be something easy, because we've added tabs before and it was a non-issue.
There's just something about this particular one that is causing some problems on the back end. So,
but Melissa and I have a history of kits and a difficult relationship. So
this is sort of a manifestation of that, I think.
Exactly. And also we wanted to mention that sometimes people are like, oh, you talked about stuff on your podcast, and then we go back to the web store and we can't find it anymore. So what actually happens, how it works for us, is when it goes down, when the inventory goes to 0, it disappears, because we do not have a get restock notification on our products, because that's sort of like another level of complexity where we're not there yet. So if there's something we talked about, or there's something you've seen before and you're like, am I losing my mind? I did see this and now I don't see it. It means we're out of stock. So please don't be shy to email us at the store, and we have a list of people that we keep if you're looking for something.
Keep a running list, and as soon as stuff comes in, we go through and we look at the list and see if anyone needs to be notified, and I think that works really well. Right.
So don't be shy to email us, and some people already do and say, oh, I was looking for this and I can't find it. So don't be shy. If there's something you really want, email us. And email is really the best way to contact us for store purchases, because if you leave a message on Instagram or YouTube, we'll probably see it, but we might not.
And then we'll probably ask you to also email the store and leave your name and number if you want to be notified about something. So again, it's info@espacetricot.com. Lisa and I both get that email, and it comes to the store as well.
So there's lots of people checking that email address, so there's more of a chance that the response will be more prompt. So I just want to let you know that. So those are sort of our technical things. And one little side note is Melissa and I, we started taking a pottery class.
Oh, yeah. It's so fun. Lisa's taken pottery before, actually, and I never have. And I was very nervous, I have to say. It was almost like when I started knitting, when I first started learning. That tension that you have. I mean, I was such I am a perfectionist by nature in some areas. I wouldn't say across the board, but in some areas. I need to get it right. That's my problem, right? So with knitting, I couldn't understand how people found this whole knitting thing relaxing, because my shoulders were up here and I was so tense and my stitches were so tight. My mother had to cut them off my needles the first time. And that's how I am on the wheel.
Yeah. But you were relaxed the second class. I found you got a little more into your groove.
Yeah, but the first class was quite. I wasn't sure, but it was
fun.
It is an exercise in overcoming, right? In overcoming that aspect, and so we're having fun. We do that on Thursday nights together. It's a nice 3-hour
class,
and
it's and what's
we call it team building.
Yeah, team building for our accountant.
What is it? It's what do they call that? Like a team building retreat or something?
Yes,
a weekly team
building retreat. And it's interesting because in our last class we sit next to each other and we're chatting as we're doing our pottery, and I said, like with it seems like with knitting, you don't have to be as artistic with pottery. Like I felt like when I was doing the pottery, there was much more skill that was involved. Whereas with knitting, I could just follow a pattern. And Melissa was like, you didn't quite agree with me, eh?
No.
You said, no, there's skill too and craft in knitting.
Of course. I think that, just as there are things that you learn and hone and perfect as you're doing pottery, I feel the same way about knitting. I mean, my knitting when I started looks completely different than my knitting now, right? And what I can do with my knitting is different now in terms of the adjustments I can make, modifications, things that I can create because I've learned. You learn the basic skills, and the technique, and then you move into the creativity.
And that's why I guess people are attracted to different crafts. Like for me, knitting seemed to become much more easy and natural than the pottery. It gets a little bit stressful that I make one wrong move and the thing collapses and you have to start again. Whereas knitting, you're like, oh, you just pull out your stitches and start again. So that's what's beautiful about the craft community is that there's something for everybody. And like you might try one craft and that's not so great, and then you go towards another one. But it's also fun to explore other crafts.
Yeah, absolutely.
And really, so we're
and who knows, maybe we will be pawning off some of our yarn bowls on you in the future. We get really good.
Yeah, well, we've got some little things in the works works there related to that. So that'll come, we'll come back to that in a few episodes.
So we'll see. Keep you posted.
Yeah, so that's sort of what's going on in our technical housekeeping
on the side of things.
And now we wanted to sort of get into some new yarns with, fall.
Yeah, lots of yarns rolling in every day. And so we had our delivery from Estelle Yarn and Designs based in Toronto. So they're one of our major suppliers. And we get our Lang yarns from them. So we had a beautiful delivery of Lang yarns last week or the week before.
Yeah, 2 weeks ago, I think.
So we've just been sort of getting them up and digesting them and figuring out what kind of projects we want to knit up with them. So I think now is the time to start showing them off, right?
Yeah. Do you want to show the Melissa scarf with the Elaine Mila?
Elaine Mila. Where is it? Oh, okay. Yeah. So one of the first ones we decided to bring in this year was Elaine Mila. This is a slightly heavier one. I mean, it's very light and lofty. It is wool, 90% virgin wool and 10% nylon. It's a very light chainette. It's not a blown yarn, but it's a very, very lofty chainette with a lot of air in it. So, I mean, it's a 16 stitch, so it's a nice Aran weight. And so I think what we've decided to knit with it is the Melissa scarf, which we've done before with the Malu Light. Here it is. So this was the one that we had knit up with Malu Light, and we had used a 6.5 millimeter for that one, right? So that's a slightly thinner yarn. Do we still have Malu Light, Lise?
No, we don't have any Malu Light left.
Okay. Has that been discontinued, or?
I don't think so, but we decided to try this one instead. But the Malu Light was from Lang as well.
Oh yeah, that's right. So this is the Melissa scarf, and we are going to do it on a slightly larger needle, so it'll be even bigger and cozier, and it'll just sort of be that big winter wrap that you want to have around your neck. And it's so soft. There's no pick, and it's superwash, which is great. So it comes in solids and some colorful.
So this one is called Mila Color. And then this one is called Mila.
Okay.
But it's the exact same yarn.
And I believe they're both under the same category, the same section of our website together. So is someone knitting on this for us?
Yes. Catherine is knitting the Melissa scarf for us on the 8 millimeter.
On the 8 millimeter needles. Okay.
So that's one of the Lang. Another one is called Viva. So what's nice is that this is a color changing yarn. If some of you are familiar with the Mil Colori. It's sort of the same idea, and it's a worsted weight yarn. So we really wanted to bring that in because we didn't have a lot of color changing yarns that were worsted.
That was a heavier gauge, exactly.
So we decided that the pattern we were going to knit up for that is the Crosshatch by Benjamin Matthew. So I just want to show you this pattern. So this one was originally done in a DK weight, but I mean, it's always nice to have a bigger scarf. Why not? So we're going to pair that with Maxima. Exactly. So what we did was we chose 2 single plies to put together. So we have a single ply, sort of semi-solid. It's Maxima by Manos. And then pairing it here with a super colorful Viva. So that's really nice.
Fun.
It's really
Those
fun.
aren't the ones the colors we're doing our actual sample with. However, that is
it's a nice another
combination.
fun combination.
Yeah.
And this also, remember that pattern, the Inspira cowl?
Yeah.
That's also another pattern that you could use the Viva for as well. So that's just cute little colorful addition to your winter wardrobe. So we're going to be doing that for the Lang.
Okay. Okay, you're going to do the Lang Mil Colori socks?
So just very quickly, we bought some sparkly because apparently you always have to have a sparkly. So when we were looking at all of our sock yarn, we weren't sure if people would like sparkles in their socks. However, we were told yes, so we're going for it.
We were late to the sparkle sock party. Right?
Very late. So you can knit sparkle socks, but you can also definitely use it in shawls because it is a fingering weight yarn. And it's a wool polyamide. There's 2% polyester, some polyamide, and mostly nylon. So it's basically a total sock yarn. And what's nice about the Mille Colori from Lang is they put the gradation. So if you are making socks, you get an idea of what the gradation of color looks like. But as I mentioned, you can use this also for shawls.
Oh,
See,
yeah.
I show that.
That's great. Yeah.
So
does that one do it?
Yeah. No, this one doesn't have that, but the sock one does.
Okay, a third one that we've received from Lang is the Luso, and this is You know I'm a sucker for mohair. So this one, actually, we got in, I think, just before inventory, because I remember Instagramming a photo of this yarn during inventory. It wasn't being very productive on the inventory front at that point. I was
Priorities.
Exactly. I was just fondling this yarn. Anyway, this is a combination of merino, silk, camel, and mohair. And what's nice about it is it's actually a DK weight. And you know, it's another yarn that you usually find in a lace or fingering weight, but with the mohair content, it's less often that you see it in that heavier DK weight. So
it's more. It can be more of a standalone than if you were doing something.
I've decided that I'm going to strand it, actually, because that's what I do with mohair, with a lace weight yarn for something called the Carrie Shawl. And I don't remember who designed this.
Oh, I think I might have the designer. It's Sari Nordlund.
Sari Nordlund. So this is just a very simple shawl that's cast on here and gets wider and wider and wider all the way up. And it has some eyelets, and then it just has a couple of tassels.
And like cute little tassels.
Just little tassels for interest. And so I've decided to use the Marina from Mando Still Uruguay. Look at that color. I'm just in love with this color. It's called Mango Berry.
We're in a bit of a pink vibe.
Can you tell?
Even though we're dressed in black, we are in a pink accessory
vibe. We are
vibe.
feeling this yarn. So I don't know if we've talked about the Marina, have we?
I think so, because we had that shawl that we got stolen. So remember?
Oh yeah, that was a little while ago. Anyway, so Marina has been restocked, and I'm just in the process of deciding which color of Lusso I'm going to strand it with. I could go that way. I could go that way, or I could go that way. Yeah, I think this one. You thinking that one, Lise?
Well, no, we had thought maybe this one, but it could be too bright.
It might be too bright.
But it depends if you're a bright kind of gal or guy. That could work.
What's interesting, I mean, what you need to keep in mind when you are stranding a yarn like this, any lace weight yarn, so this is Marina. You could also use Madeline Tosh Prairie or Malabrigo or lace weight or Shibui Sima, and we're just listing, of course, the yarns that we have in the lace weight yarns we have in store, but any lace weight will work. Is that the mohair in this one is really going to soften and tone down the color in your lace weight skeins. So
for the Lusso, because for example, the Kid Silk Haze has more silk, so it like brightens it, or maybe the Silk Cloud also, because there's 40% silk, or is it too thin?
It does. It sort of brightens, but mutes the color at the same time. Okay. You know, just because the silk adds a little bit of that luminosity underneath, but the mohair really softens the color a little bit. So stay tuned. We'll see which one I go with.
We shall see on Instagram.
Yes.
Then we have the Milk Calori, another one from Lang. We were really gun-ho on the Lang yarns.
We did. We brought in a lot this year.
Lang is really a really nice company. It's from Europe, and it's not as... it is popular in pockets in North America, but it's very, very popular in Europe. And they have some beautiful collections. So there were some things we found that were gaps in our inventory that we thought, especially with the mohair and the Lusso and the colors, so we thought it'd be nice to bring those in.
Yeah. So whereas the Lusso are all solids, this is basically a color. This is very reminiscent of the Kid Silk Haze. I don't know. I think that's blowing out a little bit. Let me try this one. The Kid Silk Haze Stripe, which was discontinued from Rowan. And however, this is a little bit thicker. This is a 22 stitch gauge, and it's 75% mohair, and it's got some nylon and a bit of wool in it as well. And so one of the things that I had actually knit up with the Kid Silk Haze Stripe a couple of years ago, I guess,
which has been discontinued now. It was the Rowan.
Yeah, exactly. Was the Traverso Due scarf, and I had stranded one of the Rowan Kid Silk Haze stripes with Madeline Tosh Prairie. And so this was a super fun knit, very easy, stockinette, reverse stockinette. I think it comes to points at the end, which are fun. And it just had that beautiful halo, which I love. And so when we saw this one this year, we thought, okay, that's great. That's a nice substitute for the Kid Silk Haze stripe, which we can't get anymore. And so we thought that stranded with, again, any lace weight. So this is an example of the Madeline Tosh Prairie in that beautiful sort of rose gray color. What's this one called, actually? What did they call it? Sugar plum. So that's sugar plum. So with something like this, or something like this, I'm not sure if that pink's right, even with gray. And this is Manos as well. This is Marina. Again, any lace weight yarn with the stripe.
Yeah.
The mohair is going to mute the color a little bit, but it's going to add that gorgeous halo.
And that, you know, when you're...
I think that muting of the color just gives it sophistication,
yes,
right?
It has that little sophisticated vibe.
Yeah. Is that it? Lisa?
Yeah, I think that was... Yeah, no, because I want to talk about the McClory Super Kit with another product.
So you have one.
But that's after, exactly. So I think we've talked about all the new Lang yarns that we have in stock. We actually have a few more, but we can't do them all today. So
next
podcast. It's something to look forward to. But we do have some yarns that we've restocked as well. And one of our favorites is the Tanis Red Label. So... we said we would try to do a better job of showing our projects. I mean, our yarns, but it's a little bit difficult with the light.
Well, here's some more.
So, I have some here too, Melissa. Okay. So this is one of my favorite colors, actually. It's called Truffle. So that gives you an idea. So the combination of the Tanis Red Label is merino, cashmere, and silk. So that cashmere just gives it that extra little luxury.
But that silk gives it a sheen.
Yes.
Look at that.
So it has like that. It's the soft cashmere feeling with the sheen, and then the merino, of course. And in Tanis' signature colors.
Yeah. That's the tartan colorway.
And the color it takes, because cashmere also tends to dull dye a little bit more. So when you look at Tanis' colors in her pure wash line, they'll have a different look than in the Red Label line.
Although I think the silk in this one makes them so much more vibrant.
Yeah, you're right. So it's interesting that cashmere that dulls it, but then the silk that makes it more vibrant.
Yeah. This is a beautiful colorway as well.
So
this one's Lotus.
I mean, we've done many projects with Tanis Red Label. One of our favorite all-time projects is by Pickles, and it's called the Simple Luxury Shawl. And it's just really a triangle. I'm pretty sure we talked about this on one of our previous podcasts.
Yeah, we did talk about one of our first podcasts, because we talked about how many millions of them we knit.
Yes.
In all different combinations of basically a mohair and a fingering weight yarn, right?
We've done. So I brought in some samples.
Did you knit this one, Lise?
No, I didn't knit that. I have two at home.
This one has Red Label.
Yeah, that one's Red Label with Superior.
Okay.
That's
the Superior is cashmere and
I think
silk.
it's Shadow. Shadow is the color we did for that.
Yeah.
So this so the original yarn that we used was the Filatura Superior. So I have one example over here. It's a little bit. So this one here. So this is actually a combination that I did for myself. I did the truffle with the Superior brown. But what's really nice is that you can mix so many different colors and you will get a different something that will stand out. So this obviously darkens it because it's the brown. However, if you wanted to pop it, you can go with green because there's some green down here that matches.
Yeah, that'd be fun. It's fun to play and just see what comes out.
And then if you wanted to do purple.
Yeah, I like that too.
So you can come with the purple. So what's really fun is we've seen so many different combinations. It's hard to go wrong.
Yeah,
because it just depends what's your favorite color and pull that out of the yarn. And this is in the Mille Colori Super Kit. So again, this is softer. This is one of the colors that Melissa showed. And then if you do it with the stone, then it brings a brighter
really pretty.
sands.
It's very soft.
Very soft. So that's one of our favorite patterns to do with the Tanis Red Label, and I have a few of them, as I mentioned, at home.
We also have an Espace Tricot pattern as well called Shadow and Light. I forgot.
Yes, I know. We're like, what's that pattern called?
For a second. So I made this one, I think a few years after we opened, right?
Like, this is quite a while ago.
Yeah.
You were wearing... there was somebody we met at TNA a few years ago. We were standing in line for Sample It, and she was wearing it.
Oh yeah, so we had she had knit our pattern, which was so exciting. We thought,
we were so excited,
big time. Yeah, and so I actually knit this with a combination, alternating the Tanis Red Label in Frost, which is a gorgeous aqua and gray combination, with the topaz in the maiden hair, which is a silk and mohair combination as well, because mohair.
Do you think, Melissa, I mean, you could also do it in another mohair, could you, or the Lusso, but this would be a lighter texture, wouldn't be as dense then.
I think the reason I used the maiden hair was because it had so much silk in it. It just gave was kind of a sheen in contrast to the
Red Label.
Yeah. So, but again, it's such a simple pattern, and you can just take two yarns, and alternate them, 2 fingering weight yarns and alternate them. They don't even have to have that kind of contrast.
Or if you went for a lighter mohair, it would just not be dense. You would have like a very airy
which is pretty too. I've seen things like that on the Ravelry as well, so that would be nice.
Now this is a very popular pattern from way back when we sort of first opened. It's the Color Affection by Vera Välimäki, the Color Affection, and this is all done in Tanis. So it's velvet, brick, and what was my third color, Melissa? We had said
brick and some dove.
Dove, that's it. So this was really fun. So this is standalone in the Tanis, and it's just gorgeous. And I like things that aren't too contrasty.
But it's funny. This getting ready for this podcast this morning. Actually, we pulled out projects that we haven't really looked at in a long time, right?
Yes.
So this one you knit again a long time ago.
A long time ago. Sort of I think I was sort of around the same time you did that Shadow and Lighter.
Yeah,
maybe
and it sits
before.
on the shelf and people look at it, but we kind of forget about our samples.
They never go out of style.
Yeah.
So I'm not a person who likes so much contrast, so I kind of felt that the colors blended a little bit more, but then other people prefer the pop where you can really see each color individually.
So pretty.
So that's those are some fun Tanis Red Label projects. And we get a big shipment of Red Label and then we turn around and we're like, oh, I thought we were good for Red Label, and then all of a sudden it's popped off the shelves.
Okay, so should I get rid of these?
Yeah, so we have our little baskets. We're prepared this time, Melissa.
I'm going to keep this one here because I'm going to talk about it a little bit later.
Okay, great. Okay, so you go ahead with scrumptious.
Oh, okay. So a few weeks ago, maybe even 6 weeks ago or so, we were lucky enough to receive a delivery of scrumptious pearl single skeins, like full skeins. So as many of you know, scrumptious pearl is self-striping sock yarn. This is the Stripe Me Up. And anyway, they've just recently started making full skeins, which coordinate with their striped yarn, but also can just be used on their own in any project, obviously. So if you don't want to do socks, or you want to do socks, the solid socks, then go ahead with these, or use them in anything really.
Yeah,
anything requires fingering weight yarn. And so I think we have, I can't remember how many colors we got in this, Lise.
I always say a lot.
A lot.
Standard answer.
We got all the colors available.
That's so funny because we ordered one yarn and we got
nine
colors.
And we couldn't understand.
And we said, are there more colors? And then Mona went to the computer. She's like, there are 54 colors in that yarn. And we're like, why did we only order 9? We're like emailing our rep. Did we make a mistake? Did you lose a sheet? So there was obviously, then we kind of figured it out because we wanted to do blanket kits. But it took us us like 2 weeks to figure out why we only ordered 9 colors.
And then it was only when they were on the shelf and we're like, white, green, red, yellow, navy, Hudson Bay blanket kits, right? That was it. So stay tuned for those.
Yeah, that was great. Once we get that kit tab
That's
put up, right?
Exactly. So these are 400 yards, 365 meters, and they have a beautiful, beautiful twist on this yarn if you ever knit with it.
Yeah, this yarn is really nice twist. Yeah. There's a very soft prettiness to this palette.
Really.
It's
really
just
nice.
really,
you want to hold them all up
it's really
together?
Fun and pretty and soft.
And these aren't all the colors. There are other options as well. Yeah.
And I just wanted to show you their new little label for scrumptious. I don't know if
I cute.
Okay, well, here's the camera.
Maybe.
So this is Samantha's dog, Ace. So I thought that was so cute.
She has a friend who's a graphic designer, and she managed to capture Ace for her labels.
And Ace with that sock, I can let you know that he is a dog who would do exactly what's in that picture. Grab the sock. The cutest little dog ever.
So we have just been fully stocked as well with a scrumptious pearl Stripe Me Up sock colorways. I think we have 4 new ones, right? Lise, you want to show this one?
And this is another yarn that comes in and then we turn around and we're like, oh, we're good with scrumptious pearl.
It's finished.
And then the basket's empty.
Okay, so what are those ones called?
Okay, so this one is called Keeping Cozy. It kind of reminds me of like you're in a varsity kind of
wrapped up watching a football game.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly how I feel.
This is Tuxedo Junction, which is fun. That is bright and graphic.
And I love the name. This one is called Puddle Jumping. So I'm thinking of, you've got your rubber your slicker on and you're jumping over either dirty water in the city or fresh, clean water.
And this one is Double Shot.
It's kind of like the tequila makes your socks rock, but like more intense. The
makes your socks rock. Tequila makes your socks come off.
Look at us. We're just so creative in our explanation of things. We're just totally making this up ourselves.
Yeah, so Tequila Makes Your Socks Come Off is exactly the same.
Is that what it's called?
Tequila Makes Your Socks Come Off.
I thought you just said it was called Double Shot.
This is called Double Shot.
Oh, no, I thought it's not Tequila Rocks? Oh, goodness. Okay.
Like tequila on the rocks. I've had
clearly too much tequila.
Right? I was laughing because you said it wrong. So Tequila Makes Your Socks Come Off. Watch me be wrong. Okay. And so, which is exactly the same, except it has cream here instead of the charcoal graphite.
I'm so curious, Melissa. Let me see if we have the other one.
Just gotta check. She thinks I'm wrong.
Check if we have. Oh, here it is.
Yeah.
It is. Let me see. It's called You're Right Makes Her Socks. Did you say her socks?
I said yours.
Tequila makes
your socks.
Her socks come off.
Both wrong. I was closer.
My God, too funny. Okay, moving on.
That's hilarious.
Okay, so we're good.
Okay.
So that's it.
So this is fun. This is super fun.
As you can see, we're just having fun describing it.
Exactly. I mean, look
makes
at
you
these.
have fun.
Does that one go? Is it?
Yeah, that one goes.
That one goes.
Fantastic.
Right?
Look at that.
Right?
It's great.
Let's find another one.
Oh my God. It's exciting. Now I'm going to be knitting socks.
This is the Scrumptious Pearl. The Espace Tricot colorway with French Rose.
And you can get that one.
Did I miss this one? Oh, yeah. This is the Deer and Doe.
So nice soft. So soft and pretty.
And these are just a few of the colorways. There's loads more.
They're all up on our web store.
They're all up on the web store. Maybe the 4 new ones aren't.
Oh, not yet. They will be up.
Hopefully they will be up by the time I post this.
Okay, so that's it for our restock. Well, I mean, technically everything's restocked.
Yeah.
But these are just the things that we've had time to show you.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing that's really we're still waiting is some of the like Lana Grande and Cascade Eco Wool, like the big chunkier yarns to be restocked.
To be restocked. Well, we have the mother load of hedgehog fibers.
Yes, it's on its way. It's in the mail.
It's on the way. It could arrive this week, maybe even in time for the podcast. We ordered tons of skinny singles, sock, Aran weight, which is going to be new to the store, as well as the mohair. So what is that? What is the name of the pattern that?
Birds of a Feather.
Birds of a
or
Feather by
Nest,
Andre Maury. That was in Len 1 or 2. I think it was in Len 2 magazine.
Yeah, I think it was
so
2.
That's been hugely popular, and people have been asking us a lot for that particular combination of skinny singles and mohair. So we made sure that we ordered lots of different options to combine to make that shawl.
So on its way. Stay tuned.
Look out for a post on Instagram.
So a new little, we're going to move into a bit of accessories and notions. And we talked a little bit about Katrinkles on our travel podcast, but we didn't really talk about it on our episodes. So Katrinkles is Katie, and she has this little company where she does all these wood burning. It reminds me, when you were a kid and you had those wood burning sets. And
she's a little better at it
than we were, exactly. A little more professional.
She stuck with it, obviously.
So it's great. So it's this little custom keychains with the Kitchener stitch. And our little logo, and then these are little gauge rulers you had me at Tricot. So they're 2-inch gauge rulers with our logo in the back. And we're almost sold out of the Kitchener ones, but we do have an order that's on its way.
Yeah, is it on its way? I think she's shipped.
I think she's shipped already, but when it comes from the States and it's USPS, it takes a couple of weeks usually for us to get it. And then, so those are little custom things she did for us. And then also we have these cute little buttons that Emilia sewed up for us on this little swatch. And so what's really fun is you can use embroidery thread or very thin lace weight. And so you can use them as buttons, but you can also use them as sort of, what would you call it? Like a little label.
Oh, like a little decorative
label.
Like a little,
on a sweater, on a hat.
Yeah, I want to, like an embellishment.
Yeah, like on the either outside of your sweater. And what's nice is we had her do some in French. So we have the fait main. So we have handmade in English, fait main in French, and then another little French one is like
made with love,
fait avec amour. So it just says fait avec, and then we have knit with love. So we're trying to work on the Kitchener stitch in French, but the wording is a little bit.
It's a bit longer, so it's hard to fit.
Yeah, so we're trying to see if we can find a very succinct way.
Yeah.
If any of our French viewers out there have a concise way of writing the Kitchener stitch in French, ça serait un plaisir que vous nous lancez un courriel à info@espacetricot.com, et comme ça on pourrait faire des petits carrés aussi avec le Kitchener en français.
Yeah, that would be fantastic. Good. And all of these are available, the buttons as well. We don't have all our button collection online, but these are all online.
Okay.
Yeah, these are all online.
It's
under Notions.
It's endless, all the things because we still have stuff in store that are not online, but we'll get there eventually.
Anything that is online is in the store, but there's still stuff in store that hasn't made it online yet.
But what some people do is they've heard about things, so they'll just email us, they'll place a web order, and then they'll leave us a note. Oh, I'd also like to purchase these. How can I go about it? And then we can just do telephone orders. Yeah, we're very flexible.
Totally. Okay, I think this is the last thing that we're going to talk about in terms of our little restocks, right? So we've been carrying Rin Textiles for a little while, and so actually maybe I'll start with her enamel pins. This is her knit club one. I love this one.
I know.
I want one for all my bags.
Very cool. It's funny because we have a group of ladies who go for lunch and they meet once a week and they all have their little pins.
Actually, I was still in Montclair. I was still in the States, and my one of my best friends who I was in a little knit club in the States, and she bought us all one of these for Christmas.
Super sweet.
Yeah, it was great. So my bag has knit club, and this is the what does she call this, soft skein, which is really cute. And then she also makes progress keepers. So we've had these two in store before, and this is the rose drop. I don't know. I'm not sure why it's called rose because it's very creamy, right? Oh, can you see it?
I think you have to go over there. There
we go. Just the light. And then we have the silver. I love the silver. I have the silver one. And then we also got. This one is a little smaller. If you want something a little smaller, hanging from your finer knits.
A little more discreet.
Yeah, that's called the Black Sphere. And then we got restocked with her fabulous, stitch markers. These are the large size. And I'm not exact. I cannot remember exactly which size needle these ones accommodate, but it is on the in the description online on the web store. It'll tell you what size needles these were. I think these work up to 4 millimeters, and these might work up to 6 millimeters. I'm not 100% sure.
I think you might. Yeah, you might.
Anyway, so those are great and so pretty and delicate, and they look very. I mean, they're just pretty on your knitting.
I know, it's right? Pretty.
So that was it for Rin Textiles. We're happy to be restocked with those.
So we're going to talk about our finished objects, if it hasn't been obvious since the beginning of the podcast. Vas-y, Melissa.
We are finished a couple of projects, right, Lise?
No more Sleeve Island for Melissa.
I'm off Sleeve Island, and I am thrilled with my... You see?
It's amazing. She walked in today. I'm like, oh, I love it. I love it. I almost said I need to make it, but
you didn't say that.
I didn't, but in my head,
you're like,
if I say it.
This is called the Hayward by Julie Hoover, knit with Loft at a slightly looser gauge than Loft is a fingering weight yarn, but this is knit at a 21 stitch gauge, and I am so in love with the look and the feel of this sweater.
It's stunning.
I was saying to Lisa this morning, it was when I put it on, because I put it on this morning for the first time. I blocked it last night, and I just laid it there, and I put it on this morning, and it was like, I mean, I really enjoyed the fabric as I was knitting it, but when I put it on, I said it was like putting on hand knit socks for the first time, when all of a sudden I understood why there was such a thing about hand knit socks, because why would you wear hand knit socks or knit socks when you could buy them for a fraction of the price? That was me at the beginning, right, with knitting socks. Yeah. And then I put on a hand knit sock and I completely understood. It's just an incredible sensation to have that knitted stitch on your body, and there was something about this, the natural fiber, the wool, the wooliness of it, and also that loft at this gauge is so... It's just, I mean, it's extremely light, but it's just...
I'm shocked at the texture of Loft at this gauge. I'm really shocked, because I've knit with it too, and it certainly wasn't the texture of this
Anyway, I love everything about it. I love the shape. I mean, it's a hilarious shape. I feel like a little bit like a penguin. But it's a slightly A-line. I'm stepping on yarn. Slightly A-line. And what was fun about this was that the back and the front are knit in 2 pieces, but I decided to... adjust it a little bit and knit in the round from the bottom.
Oh, I didn't know you did that.
Yeah, I knit from the bottom until the sleeve separation, and then just did the front separately and the back separately as I worked up the raglans. And then the sleeves are knit separately and then just sewn in. And it was easy peasy to sew them in.
And so for what modifications did you do to knit in the round?
I think what I did was I removed 4 stitches. If I remember correctly, I removed 4 stitches, and then what I did was at the side seam, I did a purl stitch
to give this. Yeah,
to
it's
give
nice.
the illusion
of a seam that you did all that hard work to sew a seam.
Yes, exactly. So I'll put the modifications on the project page for sure. It's easy to do. And I mean, some people were wondering why. I think it's been asked before why it was actually written as separate pieces rather than in the round. And I think that it was argued that because it was a larger sweater, that having those seams at the side would give it more structure. But I felt that because this is so light and lofty, this yarn, that it wouldn't really matter. So
you know, it's interesting because it kind of brings us a little bit into that discussion we were talking about sweaters and you know, when you walked in with that sweater, it was just completely your style. Like you walked in and I'm like, oh yeah, that's obvious that that's a Melissa sweater, and all the proportions were perfect and it was great. And so Melissa and I were just having a chat about, you know, sweater knitting and how to choose projects. And so what is your, like, when you're going to choose a sweater, what are you looking for when you're choosing sweaters to knit?
So I think what I have done over the years is really taken a good look at my wardrobe and looked at the sweaters that I tend to pull out more often than any other ones, the ones that I feel good in, feel comfortable in. And when I started to look at sweaters to actually knit for myself, I stayed away from knitting sweaters for myself for a long time because I felt like, well, I have to try on a million sweaters before I buy one to find the one that looks and feels right. So how am I going to knit a sweater and know that it's going to look good
the way you want it,
the way I want it, and I'm going to put in all that work and be disappointed? So I was a little cautious. So what I did was I looked at my wardrobe. I looked at the features that I liked. I like a slightly more A-line shape. I like a more cropped sweater. I like room in my sleeves. I like either a sleeve that comes down to the middle of my palm or to the middle of my arm, but short sleeves are not for me.
Yeah.
So there are lots of things that I look at, so that when I then start looking at sweaters on Ravelry, I sort of look for those features, or look at sweaters that I like that I know that I'll be able to adjust to suit me. So maybe I love everything about the sweater, but it's too long. Well, so I can make it shorter. Maybe I love everything about the sweater, but there's a lot of waist shaping, but I can leave that off. Yeah. You know? So I think that's kind of what I look at.
Yeah. And it's, you know, as we were having the discussion, it's, you know, ever since I've known Melissa, she's had a very specific style. Well, in the period that we've been, I mean, you know, you had different styles in the past.
Oh, you should have seen me in the 80s.
I know, I've seen pictures. So,
shade, earring.
I think all the people of our age have 80s stories that sometimes are quite funny to look back at. The shoulder pads.
The shoulder pads, exactly.
So so you know, Melissa, you have quite a specific style. So when she's describing how she likes things, it's very obvious. And me, on the other hand, I have specific style, but it also depends. So in the summer, I'll have a different style than in the winter, and when it's super cold, I'll have a different style than when it's not as cold, because I'm a person who's quite frileuse, as we say in French.
But I think you're consistent about certain things. Like, I think that when you look at sweaters, when you buy sweaters, I would say that 95% of your sweaters tend to be longer.
Yes, I tend to like that longer. I'm not so much into the crop, but then in the summer I might do a dress with like something like a little cropped shirt on top of it. But I do tend to like the longer sweaters. So for me, it's been a little bit more difficult pinpointing, because I'm like, oh, well, will I like this? And then if I wear jeans with a belt, then I like things a little bit shorter, because the belt brings a bulge if I have it under a sweater. Whereas if I'm going to wear leggings, then it's going to be different. So I have a little bit more issues with not having a standard style, which causes me problems, because I'm like, oh, I like this sweater. Oh, but then will I wear it when I have jeans? I'm like, well, you can make a sweater that you wear more with jeans, and then you can make a sweater that you wear more with leggings. So I think, to Melissa's point, it's very much understanding your wardrobe, understanding you, how you like things to fit and feel
understanding
on yourself.
Your body too,
yes.
and what's flattering, what works best for you in terms of what you want to highlight and accentuate, and things you want to sort of maybe camouflage a little bit.
Right. And when you're looking at patterns on Ravelry, like we pretty much, we have a good eye. Like, we look at photos, we look at details. We're like, oh, look at how that side seam goes. Look at how the back fits. Oh, look at the sweater. How does the shoulder like fit the raglan or the cap? So we spend a lot of time looking at the photos and looking at details, and then also looking at other people's projects.
Yeah, I was going to say, very important. Not just the photo of the original,
designer.
You know, you can make something look really, really good on the person who designed it, or a model or a mannequin.
But sometimes it also, it doesn't look good on the mannequin or the photo, but it actually is quite good.
People who make it. Yeah.
So to that point, Melissa.
So just look at, I love going, especially if a pattern has been around for a long time and there's lots of versions of it. So you can see how, find somebody who's made it, who perhaps has your body type, and just look for those. Okay, yes, or yes, that's great, but I think I would make it a little bigger, a little smaller, you know? So I think that aspect of Ravelry is a really helpful tool when choosing a pattern.
Yeah, and it's important because we know a lot of people who said, well, they go to Ravelry and they don't get a sense. Well, it's because you have to sort of train yourself on how to look at things and how to assess and then say, oh, is my body type like that person's? Or they did modifications. I like those modifications. Let me see what they did.
Yeah.
So I think it's really important to just sort of do a little analysis because a sweater is a big investment, time and money.
Yeah. And as you become more confident with your knitting too, I think then you're able to look at a sweater and look at what you would change about it and maybe build the confidence to make those changes. So for example, Lisa and I both knit this sweater and you're going to talk about your sweater in a second. Mine's not quite finished.
It's okay, you finished that one. Come on, you can't do two sweaters at once.
But I looked at this sweater and I looked at the fact that it had waist shaping and knew that I didn't want that. I wanted this to be sort of like a big oversized sweater, and I didn't want it to be body conscious at all. Whereas on you kept the
waist shaping.
Yeah, you kept the waist shaping and it looks fabulous. And so I just think that is something that where you would keep it and I would I would make that modification to leave it off. Whereas you made it longer. And I kept it, the same length.
That's exact. So this was a sweater that was in terms of as Melissa said, I did the medium size, but I did the proportions of the large because I tend to be a little bit taller. And so I did it longer. I did the sleeves also the size of the large. And the modification also that I did is here on the ribbing, they actually go down 2 needle sizes to have a bit more of a puckered look. And I didn't want that look. So I just did 1 needle size down.
Which I like that puckered look. So I went down. And it'll be interesting because you'll see the difference. Yeah.
And then even here too. So originally on the rib, you go down 2 needle sizes. But I did 1 needle size like I did for the sleeve. And then realized it was way too loose.
Oh, really?
So I undid it all and then I redid it 2 sizes down because what I'm realizing about myself is I'm going to knit a sleeve tighter than I knit bigger in the round because it's smaller and I'm like, go. Whereas the bigger one, I tend to relax a little bit more. So that's very interesting. For me, this project was really understanding how my knitting changes depending on what size I'm knitting or what part of the garment. And even the color work. My color work was quite, I had to knit just picking up a strand, dropping, picking up. Because if I have both strands, I end up being too tight.
If you're carrying them?
If I'm carrying them, I'm too tight. So I really picked up one at a time to stay loose. So I was loose, but I was still tighter. So then initially I said, oh, maybe I should have gone up a needle size to do the color work. But in the end, it blocked out. Yes.
Right?
I mean, I put wires to block out the color work so it relaxed. So it ended up doing well.
So stunning.
So this is actually the, how would you say that? The Rafi sweater?
I've been calling it the Rafi. Oraefi, but it's like the O umlaut.
Yes.
So it's Rafi,
and it's the AE together. So I'm not sure
how to say that.
So it's by Lopi. So we talked about this and we had kits. They're all sold out, but we're hoping that by the time this podcast airs, we're going to have more in a restock. So it's sweater number 14 in book 36.
Yeah.
And I have to say it was completely addictive. It was, I didn't put it down.
It was totally addictive until I put mine down. Maybe, we're going to talk about whips, or did we do that already?
No, we're on our way. We're not there yet. Whips is the next page.
Oh,
look
okay.
At that.
Oh, look at
we're here. We're on finished objects first.
Okay. No, I thought I'm.
We kind of jumped.
Yeah, we skipped. Okay.
We skipped. Felt a bit more flowy that we talked about that at that point. So that's our spontaneity, Melissa.
So anyway, in the whip section, you'll see my partially finished.
Which is, I mean, come on, you're almost there.
Yeah.
It was totally addictive. I had a feeling though, if I put it down, I wouldn't restart. So I'm like, just go to the end.
And I was feeling like I needed to finish something, so I had to, because I knew that I wouldn't finish that in time for the podcast, and I was feeling like, when you get a little depressed because nothing's coming off your needles, I needed something to give me a little boost, so I focused on finishing this one up on the weekend.
Because then it would have been boring if we would have been finished the same thing, come on, it was all planned. It was all planned. So, what really did kill me, I have to say, is I decided to do a tubular bind off because I'm a tight binder offer, as I'm tight in everything else, and it was way too loose with the ribbing.
So this isn't tubular, right?
No, it's regular. It's a bind off often pattern, knit one, purl one. So that kind of killed me because I was up very, very late doing the tubular, and then the next day I had to undo the whole tubular and redo it.
Till
4 o'clock in the morning, and I could have stayed, but I'm like, I need a few hours of sleep. So I have to say that kind of killed me, but that I knew I couldn't leave it because I said I will never wear the sweater if I leave it. So just take it and do it.
Oh, you mean you'll never finish it?
I'll never. No, I'll finish it. But if I didn't undo the tubular and left it, I never would have worn it.
Yeah, okay.
So all that to say, I finished it. It was addictive. I love knitting it. It looks so much more impressive than the skill level required to knit it.
Honestly, you guys, this was done in 2 weeks, right? So
it was really 2 weeks.
We recorded our podcast 2 weeks ago, and we had just finished the body.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Or we were partway up the body, and that had only taken a day or two because it's really, that part is so just, fast. Knitting on a big needle in the round.
Yeah.
And then this just took like another, and you finished this a couple days ago.
Yeah. No, I didn't finish it. I mean, I and it took me two days to block because my house doesn't have a lot of sun, so it took a long time to dry. So I finished
2 weeks?
Definitely 2 weeks you can do it.
Being monogamous.
Yes, only knitting this. I only knit this for 2 weeks, and it's really. I'm sorry, but I think it's like I look at this. I'm like, look how impressive this is. It's like I look like this fabulous knitter when it's pretty basic. So I really enjoyed this.
We encourage you guys to try color work. I mean, it's certainly my first attempt at color work, and you've done, I think, just a hat before.
And I did a part of a scarf.
Part of a scarf. Yeah. Okay. But obviously new.
Not
right?
super
experienced, and this was easy peasy, and I found it totally intuitive and easy to catch on to. So.
And what's nice is that with the let Lopi is you don't have to sew in any ends. We spit spliced everything. So I mean your ends like at the beginning and the end of the colors, but we spit spliced so many ends, which was fantastic. And I am wearing this sweater, and I have a sundress underneath.
Yeah, sleeveless.
So I have nothing on my arms and nothing on my neck.
And you've been wearing it for hours, and it's totally comfortable.
I've been wearing it for like 3 hours now. Totally comfortable. I love it. It is hot. So obviously you're not going to wear it on a day where it's 30 degrees out. But I have to say, I really love this project, the sweater. I'm glad I'm wearing it. And like you said, I did some minor modifications that were very easy to do. And I tend to be a little bit more leery. Melissa's more adventurous with changing shapes of her sweaters and modifying. I tend to be a little bit wary, but what I'm realizing is the more I'm knitting sweaters,
you're getting a sense.
I'm getting a sense of, this is what I have to do. For example, my row gauge was off. I was a lot looser. So what was happening was when I was doing my increases on my sweater, I noticed that I would get to the required length before I had finished them all. So instead of doing my increase every 10th row, I did it every 7th row.
Yeah, so you're paying attention.
Yeah, I'm paying more attention and little things that are not so complicated. And every project I'm modifying something a little bit more to. I feel now that I might get to a point where I'm going to be able to do it with more ease and have more success. Because I said to Melissa, I don't know, I think I'm done knitting sweaters.
Yeah, you were really disillusioned with sweater knitting for a while.
They're never going to fit me properly, but really it takes a little time and takes patience. And if you're a person like me where it's not so obvious on how to modify things, I say just like slowly but surely, you'll get there.
I said to Lisa, she's had a corrective knitting emotional
experience. I have. I'm so happy.
So I just wanted to wrap up this sort of talk about sweaters and modifying and sort of getting a sense of what a good proportion is and size and shape for you is. And I wanted to mention that in Julie Weisenberger's Cocoa Knits Sweater Workshop book, she has a whole section on flattering fit and style, and she does a beautiful sort of discussion on how to go about creating the illusion of shape and creating, a slimming effect and using horizontal lines and vertical lines and where to put lines strategically to create different effects in your garments. And then she even talks about using color for balance, so darks and lights, and how to work that. And I hope that I'm not giving too much away
it's
here.
really great because, some people feel very comfortable modifying things on the fly or on their own, or they can figure out the math, but a lot of people don't.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's a great guide to help you with confidence.
Exactly, just to build your confidence so you have a better idea, as you approach patterns. So this is, she has a cheat sheet. So this is if you're top heavy, a cheat sheet for if you're top heavy, a cheat sheet for if you're middle heavy. So just things to keep in mind as you're choosing your patterns, bottom heavy, things to keep in mind, proportions that will look better on you than others. So, and then there was just and then she has a section on actually modifying, how to make modifications.
You know that show? It's called it's TLC. I think it's called What Not to Wear.
Yeah.
So it's kind of that idea,
like that for your knitwear. So,
or we should flip it positively, and what to wear.
What to wear, yeah. And so then she has a section towards the end on making modifications and looking at adding more increases to your yoke, casting on extra stitches at the underarms. If your arms are a little bigger at the top, you might want to just add some extra stitches and not have to worry about having your sleeves that are too tight. And
this is not necessarily just for the patterns that are in the book.
No, this is general. It can be applied to any pattern. Exactly. Adding bust darts, all that kind of thing. So, I mean, beautifully explained and beautifully written. So even if you don't knit anything in this book, it's just a great resource to have those sort of informational things in there. Yeah. So,
help you succeed in your sweater knitting.
Exactly.
Okay. So our big bump. That's the big bump.
Oh, is that? Oh,
yes.
Okay.
Okay. It's so funny. We're big on to heavy duty knits, and it's 30 degrees outside.
Okay, look at my blanket, you guys.
Woo! I have the same one at home, but in latte colorway.
Yeah, and that beautiful brown color. So this took how many hours did this take?
5 hours took me to knit it.
Yeah, 5 hours. It was just like 2 evenings on a weekend.
Yeah.
So this is the Alpaca Big Stitch Alpaca Bump. And these are from Bagsmith, and I feel like Bagsmith has since closed.
I think they have. So this might be your last opportunity to get them.
Opportunity to get this yarn, because I went to their website the other day and it said that they had closed. So we aren't going to be able to get this anymore, which is too bad. It's merino. It's 70% alpaca and 30% wool. I'm not going to lie. It's a pricey blanket. Yep. It took 2 of these to make this size throw, but it is the most luxurious, indulgent piece of anything that you'll have in your knitwear for your homeware for your living room or the end of your bed
and I have to say we've had other big yarns in the past, and I've seen other big yarns, but there's something about the quality of this. And we did speak about this yarn in one of our former podcasts.
In our blanket
and where we said Becca, the owner of Bagsmith, said every once in a while she takes her scissors and just gives it a little haircut. But it doesn't pill. It's just more that like hair sheds a little bit because of the alpaca.
And I think what's different about this they call it a jumbo. Is it a jumbo yarn? I think it's a jumbo. It's like not a chunky. It's not super bulky. It's called
beyond.
I think it's called jumbo. Anyway, this is worked up on 25mm needles, and this one has a bit of a twist. So a lot of these giant yarns they tend to be just roving,
right?
Just single roving.
Yes, that's true.
Whereas this one has a bit of a twist because it is the 2 fibers that are twisted together. So I think that gives it a little bit more
structure.
Yeah, and resistance to the pilling and the shedding. So. We have enough of this left, I think, to make 4 or 5 blankets. It's in our web store now. It wasn't at first, but I added it last week. So if this appeals to you at all, to wrap yourself up this winter.
So this is the color that I did. It's very similar. I called it latte, but it's latte. It's a bit creamier with some brown. This is pure cream, and then we have a brown tan,
which is so pretty too.
And it takes 2 balls, as Melissa said, to make that. And there seems to be something else I wanted to say. No, I guess.
And because it will definitely take you over the limit for free shipping. Is going to ship for free if you're in US or Canada.
And Melissa, because the pattern we just did a knit 2 purl 2, right? And how many stitches did we cast on?
I cast on 30 stitches, knit 2 purl 2.
That's it. Yeah. Knit 2 purl 2. And because I'm a tight knitter, I am sorry to be a broken record, but when I was doing it was almost like I was moving things with my hands. I wasn't just using, I was like kind of, and especially the bind off, I almost did it with like a needle and by hand.
Okay.
Because as I started to knit, I was still too tight, like ridiculous.
Really? I mean, on those giant needles?
Even on this, this pattern is knit on a 4.5, and I did a 5.5. So I was using my hand. So if you're going to knit that and you're a tight knitter, you gotta relax, because the looser it is, the more beautiful it is.
Yeah.
Which brings us to Mando.
Which brings us to Mando, which is a great new yarn we've received from Cascade Yarns.
So I'm like, right, black in your face.
Which I would say is a more economical.
Yes.
Alternative to the Big Stitch alpaca, and the proportions of alpaca and merino are a little bit different. Do you see where it says on here, Lise? It's 50-50.
Right
so
here.
This is 50% alpaca, 50% wool. I would say it's
It's not as dense, but
it's not quite as thick. Although this is also knit up on 25mm needles, and there's actually a nice free pattern from. Have I misplaced it? Oh, here it is. From Cascade. It's called the Hearthstone Throw, and I think this one calls for 3 skeins. Okay, so I guess, and it makes a 25-inch by 42-inch blanket, which is smaller than, because 2 of these makes 1 big stitch alpaca bump. So you would need 4 of these to make something the size of the one I just showed, right?
And I mean, this pattern is a little more dense than the one we did, so we definitely think you could do. With the Mando, you could still use the 25mm needles, and then you could do the knit to purl to get that airy feel.
Yeah, exactly. And what's nice about the Mando, oh, sorry, Lisa.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, is just that, you know, whereas the big stitch alpaca and a lot of those super bulky yarns tend to come in the natural colors, although I know Loopy Mango has some colorful ones.
They have some nice colorful ones.
Yeah, the Mando comes in some beautiful, it comes in a bright red, it has this beautiful chartreuse, which I love.
And you know what, I'm just looking at this, if you wanted to do just a simple garter blanket, you could actually stripe. You could do like one ball, like, isn't that fun?
Wouldn't that be great?
That'd be really, and we have neutrals, we have some other colors.
We should do one.
I think that's really, just like as we're talking, that's super nice.
Anyway,
and what this feels, the difference between this and the big bumps is that this feels a little more woolly.
Yes.
Whereas the big bumps has a bit more alpaca feeling, a softer.
It has more alpaca, so it has more weight too.
And more drape. It's got a more drapey feel. So so that's the Mando. That was new. New yarn for us. Okay. What's next on our agenda? Moving right along. Now we get to works in progress, Melissa. Your sweater.
Oh, okay, I get to show my sweater. I'm not going to talk about my sweater that much, though, because we've already covered the Rafi, but just to show you that I have made progress.
It's funny, I had the exact same colored stitch markers.
Oh, did you?
With the same stitch things.
So I've done my sleeves. So that's a milestone, you guys.
See, hers goes in quite a bit more than mine.
At the wrist. Exactly. And I've started the color work on the yoke.
And I have to say, for those of you who think, like, when mine was at this stage, I'm like, oh my God, it looks so short. It looks so small. And I kept trying it on. And I kept like, is it going to fit?
But the yoke is really quite
But it really stretched.
Right?
Yeah, when I blocked
when it stretched, okay.
When I blocked it and I put my wires to stretch it, but the yoke is quite long.
Yeah,
so
I was a little worried that it was going to be short.
No, it's set. It is what it says it is.
So you guys, we might match at Rhinebeck. Look at we're going to feel very dorky, but very proud of our sweaters.
Dorky, indeed. Unless it's, a bazillion degrees outside.
Oh, yeah, and then we won't be wearing them at
I know
all.
somebody made a comment like, oh, Rhinebeck's going to be, it's going to be too hot for you. So then I'm like, do we need to make a backup sweater? Well, maybe
this will be my backup sweater.
There you go.
Actually, I love this sweater
Should
so
I make
much.
One to make one like this?
Yeah, so we have a backup matching sweater. Because I'm going to actually knit this one again. I have already picked out my color. I think I'm doing Loft in Homemade Jam.
Which is like a purpley?
It's a purpley, berry, rosy.
Well, we'll see if she wears that one.
I will.
Hey, good.
Because it still almost feels neutrally.
Yeah.
Yeah. So...
color. That's our favorite saying. I noticed we've been saying that like
what neutrally?
Oh, it's like a
color,
colorful neutral. It's like a colorful neutral. It's like a papa neutral.
A papa neutral.
That's our new
trust us, Lise.
Yeah. So and I pulled a Melissa.
What? You steamed.
I steamed. So I steamed.
She's putting her best foot forward on her work in progress.
I had to take out Sean's like making supper and I'm like ironing and we're ironing in the same place that we're making supper. Pretty. It was a disaster. So this is the Amy Miller 2nd Avenue. So I am so addicted. Beautiful. It feels really amazing, eh? So
Lisa's addicted to a lot of her projects lately, which is great because you haven't been in a while.
No, I was in a bit of a knitting. I was kind of forcing myself, but I kind of refound my mojo. And I have to say, this was so much fun. So for all those people who get a knitting slump, it does come back. I didn't think it was going to come back. I was like, maybe I have to sell the store. Maybe we have to close the store. I'm like, fake it till you make it. But then all of a sudden, like just 2 weeks ago, it came back. After like quite a while.
That's hilarious. We'll see if that part stays in this video.
We shall. Yeah. It shall. It's real. So here, so this is Manos Fino. I want to say Fascinator, but je me souviens pas.
That sounds right.
Sounds about right, eh? And then Artful Belle in White Sands. And there's a bit of this like kind of purpley, browny undertone. And then I went to a Julie Asselin. So this is Johnny, but she's changed her colors now. So any like deep charcoal would be perfect.
Do you know what her charcoal is called now?
I do not know what her new colors are called.
Anyway, the pictures are online.
The pictures will be there. And so I'm trudging along. And this, I think, is going to be my next one. It's an eyelet section, and it's Julie Asselin Fino, also in Jardin des Tuileries, and this color she's renamed. She has sort of the same colors.
It's called Romance, right?
But just slightly different. So I'm having lots of fun. I can't believe how fast this is going. And I want to say, like, I wasn't sure about combining the Belle with the Julie Asselin because
it's perfect.
It's the Lezu, and it's like there's silk in there, so it gives a bit of a shine. Whereas the Belle is a merino, like nylon. It's a sock yarn. But I am like, even though I've already knit with the Artful, this is the Belle. It's so soft.
Oh, you know what I thought it was? I thought it was Solo.
No,
like
it's
that. We got a
test.
Yeah, test skein of. So Artful is they've already launched that yarn, right? The Solo?
No, I don't. Well, no, at TNA, but I don't think they've launched it out there.
Oh, we won't talk about it anymore.
So it's a new yarn that's coming. So I am like pleasantly surprised in a shawl at a looser gauge how drapey and soft the Belle is.
Very nice.
Because I really want this to be a cozy drapey scarf.
I would have thought it was a single ply at first, actually, but I see now that it's plied. Yeah, beautiful.
So that I'm having lots of fun. So that's the Amy Miller 2nd Avenue. There we go.
Okay.
That's all I have.
Well, I have socks.
My other things. I have my other things, but I talked about the last podcast. So
okay. So I have a hoe. Actually, a little bit more.
Hoe. What's a hoe?
A half object, please.
Oh my God! Really? Is that a thing?
My poor son. Every time I say that, he's 13. He's 13 years old, and he's like, Mom.
You know, it's interesting because when I used to teach at McGill, I'd call roll call like at the beginning of the year and then they were always like, oh, you can call me Mike, you can call me this. I'm like, I'm going to call you the name your mother gave you because that is what your mother wanted you to be called.
Do you know that's so funny?
And that's what I feel about this.
That's quite the opposite of the way the schools are now.
Now everyone's all about.
Well, now the school asks you, what do you want to be called?
Well, I guess in a way you should do that, but I mean, I had fun with my.
Hardcore, at least.
Yeah, and it was like they're university students, so we had lots of fun. But Gianluca gets upset because there are people who want to abbreviate his name, like call him GL.
Oh, really? Oh yeah. No, people shouldn't do it.
He does not like that
unless they
have permission.
Unless you ask for it.
I mean, for me, it was more endearing for my students, you know. It made me because I was kind of almost the same age as them.
Anyway, hoe is what it's referred to, Lise.
Okay, well, I will still call it half. What?
It's a half object.
Half object.
Okay. Anyway, I have my Scrumptious Pearl Stripe Me Up sock. I've used the Stripe Me Up
numerous times
pattern. Yeah. I've used that yarn numerous times, and also this is our great. Stripe Me Up sock pattern, right? The Espace Tricot pattern.
Yeah, I think that's
what it's called. And
we're getting giddy now, Liz.
I know.
It's the heat of the sweaters.
It's a cuff down with a heel flap and gusset.
Reinforced.
I'm back. Yeah, the reinforced heel, and I'm back to my old favorite. That's really the look and the feel, that the heel that fits me well. Mm-hmm. And
no more of those
afterthought heels. It wasn't for me. So I have one, and I've made good progress on. And this is the Espace Tricot light colorway. Mm-hmm. So there's the Espace Tricot colorway, and then which is
darker.
Magenta, charcoal, and that bright green. And so you'll see this is quite light.
You want to show in the balm?
Yeah, actually, I'll show in the finished socks.
These are my Espace Tricot socks.
Yeah, so these hang on display or samples, so you see the difference between the Espace Tricot and the Espace Tricot light.
I would say the light is not doing it justice. The pink is really a nice fuchsia. It looks a little bit more reddish there, but it's more fuchsia.
Okay, and so both of those have been restocked as well, and so those are all
just this morning.
They're all up on the website. So that's it for my works in progress.
So I mean, I have my my Koigu blanket that I resurrected, but I showed that already, so I haven't worked on that. So
should I talk about my you know how you talked about the 2nd Avenue last week, but you hadn't quite cast it on?
Oh yeah, what you're thinking?
Yeah, I'm thinking of casting on the Sunset Highway in the Tanis red label, and these are my choices. Is that fun?
Very fun. What she came in here with, I was a little bit shocked. So I'm glad
I thought about incorporating the iris, which is a gorgeous colorway, but it's not very me.
No.
And I really love this stone colorway because, I mean, it's gold and sort of a creamy tan, really color of like a stones covered with lichen or something, you know?
Yeah, like I feel like there's like angelic stuff in there. Like
I know.
Angel stone,
like gold
ancient,
dust. Gold dust.
Yeah, gold dust. Ancient Rome ruins.
Right, there you go.
Getting off philosophical.
Oh, God. A lot of editing in this one. Anyway, so the stone. So I'll start with the charcoal. I'll move to the stone. I'm going to incorporate some hot pink. And maybe the body of the sweater.
Yeah, I find that's a very interesting. It's what sometimes when we pick colors, we're like, oh, that's nice, but it's predictable.
Yeah.
What I really like about this is it's not predictable, but it goes so well together. Like I have to say, I'm loving that combination.
Oh, thank you. So I think I'm going to go with it. So this is charcoal, stone, slate, and orchid.
So this is the section we call in progress in the mind.
Yes.
In the mind.
It's gestating.
Gestating, yes. It's out there in the zeitgeist.
Hopefully it'll be cast on. And I don't know, maybe this could be my backup Rhinebeck sweater.
Well, they're putting a lot of pressure on yourself because Rhinebeck's in a month away.
Yeah. But we'll see.
We'll see. Okay, so now we just have a few Espace Tricot patterns that we talked about last week, but that they should be posted. The léger. Yes. Oh, the léger. I don't think we showed the léger.
We showed the bonnet, the petit pain bonnet. We showed that in the last podcast, and that one should be up by the time this, as a free pattern on Ravelry by the time this airs. And then this is, we have a sweater called léger. Did we show that one in the podcast last week? Or?
No. I don't think so.
Anyway, it was done in the Rowan Creative linen, which has since been discontinued, I think. And so we decided to rework it in a slightly thinner yarn this summer. And this one is done with the Zoe yarn. So the stitch counts and, you know, I think the proportions, the proportions are a little bit different. We decided to make the sleeves a little narrower on this one.
And what about the neck? Is the neck a little bit narrower?
I think it might be a little bit narrower as well. And we did this one up in the Juniper Moon Farms, Zoe, and that's a beautiful mix of linen and cotton.
So, you know, before our thought was it was like cottons and linens were really for the summer, but now we realize we have customers
carry it all year round.
And we have customers from all over the world, you know, who are not knitting wools at this time of the year. So
and
this is a really fun.
And so many people who can't wear wool.
Yes, exactly.
Right, and so they just.
So it's fun. This is a really nice fabric.
It has a nice weight, eh?
Nice weight, and then the linen gives it a little bit more structure. So it's really fun.
And some people a nubby rustic look too.
The léger was popular, but some people found the neck and the sleeves a little bit too wide. So now you have two options. You have the léger and they have the léger redux.
Exactly. So that one should also be live this week.
And our translator, Vicky, just came back from vacation today. So she's going to be
up
working
in English and French. Yeah,
she'll be
maybe English first and then French next week or so.
Yeah. Okay, and then we have one store sample that's finished. It's called the Anywhere Cow by Sylvia Hager, and we use the Party of 5 kit.
That's a Sweet Georgia.
Sweet Georgia, Party of 5. So that is super fun. It's seed stitch. You gotta love seed stitch. It's such a beautiful texture.
Though.
Can we have a good look on that? So
so simple. And if you just want something nice and easy to cast on with, you know, high impact.
And Jocelyn knit it for us on her trip, so she said it was the perfect
travel project.
And was small, compact, and kept her busy. So this is just to give you an example of a Party 5 kit. So this one has a little bit more of a variation, whereas this is sort of one color with a gradient. And this is something also, it's not necessarily for the dead of winter, you know.
Unless, it feels nice.
Unless you live somewhere where dead of winter is
this is
0 degrees.
It's the Sweet Georgia Tough Love sock is what she uses for these kits, right?
And it's a little bit looser than you would knit a sock, so you have that extra. It's always when you knit yarns a little looser, you get a little extra softness.
You see me going close because I don't have my glasses on, so I can't really see what I look like. I gotta go close.
She has her glasses over here, not on.
I know, but if I put my glasses on, then I can't actually see. I can't actually read our notes.
Hence progressives.
I know.
Progressives.
That's where I'm going next.
So this is great. It's great. A spring, fall cowl, indoor cowl. Fantastic.
So that's 5 colors in the Party of 5 kit, or
you can do it in the prismatic. So it's the same amount of yardage. So you can choose to have a multicolor rainbow version of the Anywhere cowl.
And did you say we've actually seen that on Ravelry?
Yes. It's so funny because there's one on Ravelry with tassels.
Yeah.
So anyways,
I think they used the prismatic kit and they
put little tassels. It was super cute. So Party of 5 or prismatics for the Anywhere cowl, and thanks to Jocelyn for knitting that.
Yeah, so beautiful.
And then
I like it's good. It's a good circumference actually. It's like nice around the neck. It's not too gapey. I don't like them when they're too long and then you have this huge,
hole.
Yeah.
So that way it actually keeps you warm, because my thing sometimes is never the crook of your neck here, it's exposed.
So that's good.
Okay.
Oh, is this are we talking store samples that are being knit right now?
Yes, we have 2 in progress.
Okay, so this is another store sample. How beautiful is this? This is the Veronica by Shannon Cook. This one blew up Instagram and Ravelry this summer and into the fall. I really want to cast this on actually, but just haven't really found the time. But it's one that we definitely want as a store sample, so we thought it would be most expedient to have it knit up by one of our
Stephanie
staff members. Yeah. So Stephanie's knitting that for us. So we chose Shelter in the Thistle colorway, which I think I might have to steal and wear.
So is this like a Papa neutral? Is this a colorful neutral?
I would say this is pretty colorful. I'm not sure it qualifies as
in our colorful neutral category.
No, but I think this is great. If you are wearing an all neutral outfit and you pop that on,
way to go, girl!
Me of, Tracy from the Grocery Girls knit this one up, and she did a color I think that was similar to this, like something just vibrant and beautiful, and it looked so spectacular on her, and that kind of inspired our color choice for it as well. So
thank you, Tracy.
Thank you, Tracy.
Another one that we have being knit up is called the Little Rosebud Dress by OG Knitwear, and it's actually last week we talked about the Norwegian fur top, which was part of our layout, layette that inspired us to design a blanket. Yeah. So this is by the same designer, OG Designs. And
is it OGE or OGI?
It's OGE Knitwear.
Okay.
So I don't know if it's OG Knitwear or OGE Knitwear. So how cute is that? So it's like the Norwegian fur cardigan, but it's a little dress. So we just thought,
so adorable.
So adorable, and it comes in lots of sizes, I think from newborn to maybe 8 years old. And so we're doing it in the Tanis Pure Wash DK in the rose gray color. So that's going to be our version that's being knit up. I can't remember who's knitting that for us, but once they finish, we shall let you know who's knitting that one up for us. So those are 2 samples that we have in the works. So as we mentioned before, when we get new yarns or we see new patterns that are exciting, then we sort of dispatch and we get people to knit for us. Okay, so
we're at the wrap up.
We're at the wrap up. You want to take it away, Melissa?
Wrap it up. Well, let's do the sign off again.
Oh my goodness. So thanks so much for joining us, sticking with us. It's great to be back and on track, and we're so motivated for the fall season. We have lots of things coming down the pipeline, and I
hope you're all knitting like crazy.
Yes, and keep sharing your comments and what you're knitting with us, and any little suggestions you have or things you'd like to talk about. Really, a lot of the things we talk about end up being comments that people make, and we're like, oh yeah, that's a great idea. Let's go for that. So take care. Thanks so much for watching.
Thank you so much. Ciao, ciao. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye. Bye.